welcome back to our Fusion series. Today we'll be going over the basics of gears and the way they can interact with each other. So instead of having us actually just like model out the gears by hand and wasting time doing that, we're going to use the utilities section in Fusion. So go to the utilities tab, and then if you don't see scripts and add-ins up here, just go down to here and then select it. And then we're going to go down to spur gear. We're going to click run, and then there. So don't worry about like any of these, really. Just basically what we're going to focus on right now is the number of teeth, and these are just used to figure out like the dimensions so that you can the actual program can calculate like the mathematical formulas for the gear. So as you can see, like specific types of gear settings right here. So what we're going to focus on is the number of teeth. We're going to change the 12 to 24, and we're going to press OK, and then there we go. So this gear is a little bit too big for our workspace, as you can see. So we're going to scale it down a little bit. So we're going to go to solid, we're going to go to modify, we're going to go down to scale, click our gear, leave it on uniform, and then change our scale factor to 0.75. Press OK. Alright, so the way that this scale factor works is that every single face and every single edge of this gear will be scaled equally towards like the central point of the scale that we just used. So as you can see, the bottom section got moved upwards because it got scaled upwards, and now the entire gear shifted up. So what we're gonna do is press M for move. We're gonna select our component. We're gonna go to our point to point, select our origin point, which is the bottom of our gear right here. We're going to select our target point, which is the origin, and then press OK. And as you can see, our gear is now perfectly centered to the origin, and it's also level to the origin. So let's create our secondary gear. Let's go back to utilities. Let's go back to add-ins, scripts and add-ins. Go back down to spur gear, press run, and let's change the number of teeth to 12. Press OK. As you can see, it's going to put it back in the origin, so we have to move it. So press M, just here, press translate. We're going to move it out, and then just leave it right here. Press OK. Let's scale it too. Let's go back to solid, modify, scale. Here we go, 0.75. Leave it on uniform, and there we go. And as you can see, it's also not going to be level anymore. It's going to be shifted upwards. So let's also put it back down level. So let's press M for move. Let's do a point to point. Let's select this component. We're gonna use the origin point for right here. We're gonna move it to here. All right, and let's just make it so that they don't intersect each other. So let's just let's do it. Rotate. Hold on. Let's press OK first. There we go. Now we can select the central point for our rotate, and let's just rotate it a little bit. That's the wrong axis, sorry. Let's go back to our top. We're gonna do this axis, boom. All right, so we want to make sure that these gears are like within each other, so this tooth is like between these two teeth, and that just basically allows our animation to be a bit more accurate. So we can press OK now, and then we can see that all our gears are level. So we go back to our home view, and there we go. So let's create the thing that these gears actually rotate around. And also, by the way, the reason why we're using a 24 to 12 gear ratio is so that we can have a 1 to 2 gear ratio. So for every one revolution of the bigger gear, the small gear will rotate twice. And the reason why you don't want to like leave it the same number is because that's just not very useful. So for every one rotation, the other gear would also rotate once, and at that point, it would really just not serve any purpose. So with different numbers of teeth, you can just have different like gear ratios. That's just useful for different applications that you might be working on. So let's create the thing that these gears actually rotate around. So let's press our sketch button. Let's go to our top face, create a circle, press C for circle, go here, click there, precision sketch. All right. So instead of having to know the actual dimensions like for the height of this gear for our extrusion, which by the way, if you want to do that, you just go to measure, and then you click the top point and the bottom point, and as you can see, let's zoom in real quick. The distance between the top and bottom faces is 0.375. So instead of having to do that, let's do this instead. So we're gonna press E. We're gonna press this, and make sure you press extent type and not start type. If we go to extend type to object, and then let's select our bottom face. And as you can see, Fusion automatically just calculates the distance between these two faces, and it automatically creates our extrusion. So we don't have to worry about figuring out the dimension of this. So we can just press OK now, and let's create the joint between the bigger gear and the center point. And also make sure that because whenever you spawn it, whenever you like spawn in these components, it's gonna like also include the ground to parent. So just ungrounded from parent, because when you leave it grounded to parent, it's gonna result in the gears basically just not moving at all. It's not gonna animate correctly. So you make sure it's not grounded to parent. So then just like let's make our new component disappear. Press J for joint. Remember on Windows you're gonna have to press Control for this. On Mac it's Command. We're gonna go down to our middle point. There we go. Bring back our new component. Select the middle point of this as well, right here, and let's do a revolute. And as you can see, it was animating there, and then there we go. That's good. Press OK, and let's do the same for this smaller component. Let's do a new sketch. There we go. Let's create. All right, and the way you can figure out the center of this circle without having to like dimension it or anything is just press C, and as you can see, this little circle mark will appear whenever you're in the middle of the circle, and all you have to do now is just click it and then go to the edge, and then there we go, and then press finish sketch, and then press E for extrude. Do the same thing that we did before. Just go down to here, go to extent type, then do to object, click the bottom face, and then go to new component, press OK, and then there we go. As you can see, we have two of these components, and and then I have to like put the joint on this one as well. I forgot. So let's do that real quick. Make our new component invisible, press J, go down to our middle section, bring back our new component, do the same thing, go to our middle section. There we go, and then press OK. Yeah, as you can see, it's revolving correctly. Press OK. All right. So if we try to like spin these, as you can see, they move around because they're not like the center of this gear is not grounded. It's not grounded to the parent. So let's revert and also as you can see, the capture position button, it's basically gonna like, so if this in this position, if I press the capture button, the default for where these components would be is in this position. But if I press revert position, it's gonna go back to where it was before I moved it like that. So let's ground the center of both of these. So let's go here, go to ground parent. The same thing for the smaller gear. There we go. And now, as you can see, when we turn one gear, it's gonna spin. But the issue with this is that they're gonna intersect each other because the Fusion, by default, doesn't have the collision detection. So if you want to do that, you would go to right here, assemble, and then it'd be contact set. Now the thing about contact sets is that it may work, but when Fusion like has such like rounded edges with such sharp edges, it's gonna cause like your entire computer to basically just lag. So you don't want to really use these whenever you have a situation like this. Instead, what you want to do, which is a lot more like resource efficient, is just to do this instead. So we're gonna go to assemble. You're gonna use a motion link, and now you're gonna click both of these joints. There you go. And as you can see, this is not really accurate to real life, so we're gonna reverse the direction. That's better. But as you can see, what Fusion is doing right now is causing the smaller gear to rotate the same like amount as the bigger gear. But that's not realistic. We know that with our gear ratio of 1 to 2, that for every one revolution of our bigger gear, the small gets to revolve twice. So let's change it. As you can see, this bigger gear is revolute 11, this small gear is revolute number 12. So let's change it. Let's have it exactly. So let's just do this. And by the way, instead of having to do the math, if it's a really complicated number, just do this, divided by 2. And as you can see, Fusion automatically does the math, and as you can see now, they won't intersect each other, and it's accurate. Press OK. Now we can do the revolve again, or we can just spin it by hand like this. And as you can see, it's revolving correctly, and they're both interacting properly. And this is useful for a lot of applications. Like we can, for example, like create a new sketch here. We can create a circle here. Press OK. Finish sketch. Extrude this up a little bit. And as you can see, we can have different objects attached to our gears, And this is basically the fundamental building block of most things you do in Fusion. So this is a very crucial skill to learn. That's basically going to be it for our video. We're going to be going over another project in the next one. See you guys later. Thanks.